All right, let's dive into a really fascinating moment in the book of Acts. It's a story where, one of the absolute worst things to happen to the early church, well, it didn't just not crush it. It actually became the very thing that launched its global mission. It's an incredible paradox, and we're going to unpack it.
So let's start with this question, because it really gets to the heart of what we're talking about today. What if a movement's biggest, most crushing setback was actually its secret weapon? I mean, think about that. The very thing designed to destroy it is what makes it unstoppable. And believe it or not, that is exactly what we're about to see unfold in Acts chapter 8.
Okay, so to really get what happens next, we need to kind of set the scene. Right after Jesus' ascension, the early church was on fire. I mean, it was vibrant, it was growing, full of power. But, and this is a big but, it was also pretty much stuck in one place, Jerusalem.
And see, this was the original mission blueprint. Jesus himself laid it out super clearly. He gave them this expanding plan. You're going to start here in Jerusalem. Then you'll move out to Judea and Samaria, and from there, you'll go to the ends of the earth. It was a great plan. But, well, at this point in the story, they were kind of stuck on step one. Just Jerusalem.
Right. So that cozy local focus, yeah, that was about to get completely shattered. The comfort zone the Jerusalem church was in, it was about to be blown wide open by a terrifying new antagonist and a crisis that would literally change everything.
And man, things escalated fast. I mean, shockingly fast. It all kicks off with this guy, Stephen. He gives this incredibly powerful sermon, and what happens? It leads directly to him becoming the very first martyr of the church. But his death wasn't just some isolated event. No, it was the spark. It was the match that lit the fuse on a massive, organized persecution against every single believer in Jerusalem.
And right at the center of this firestorm is a Pharisee named Saul. And you really have to get this. The word the Bible uses here for ravaging is limianeto. Now, that's not just a casual word. In Greek, it's what you'd use to describe a wild animal, like a lion, just tearing its prey to pieces. That's the level of intensity Saul brought. This was a systematic, brutal campaign to utterly destroy the church, one house at a time. So what happens next? Well, just what you'd expect. Pure chaos and terror. People are forced to flee. They had to leave their homes, their community, everything they knew. If you were looking at this from the outside, you'd think, well, that's it. It's over. It looked like a total crushing defeat.
And the Bible calls this a diahogmas megas, a great persecution. And here's where it gets wild. In a stroke of just unbelievable irony, where did the believers get scattered? Throughout Judea and Samaria. Wait a minute. Those are the exact next places on Jesus' mission map. But you can bet it didn't feel like progress to them. It felt like the end. Jerusalem was now enemy territory. And what's really interesting is that the apostles, the leaders, they actually stay put.
But this is where the story takes a hard right turn. The moment that looked like a crushing defeat, it was actually the pivot, the springboard. Because the very act of scattering all these believers, well, it led to something nobody saw coming.
I mean, look at this contrast. It's just so stark. The human plan, Saul's plan, was simple. Crush the church. Erase it. Stamp it out for good. But God's plan, the divine outcome, the complete opposite. The church didn't die. It spread. The very thing that was supposed to destroy it actually caused it to multiply. It's amazing.
And the entire story, the whole narrative, it just flips on its head with one single powerful little word. It's the hinge pin. It's the word that connects the terrible persecution to the incredible outcome. You find it right at the start of Acts chapter 8, verse 4.
Therefore, those who had been scattered, they went everywhere preaching the word. Think about that. They didn't go into hiding. They didn't cower in fear. They were scattered like seeds thrown to the wind, and everywhere they landed, they started planting the message of the gospel. The persecution didn't just fail. It backfired in the most spectacular way imaginable. And get this, who was doing all this incredible work? It wasn't the apostles. It wasn't the official church leadership. They stayed back in Jerusalem. No, it was the ordinary, everyday believers, the refugees, the people who had just lost everything. They became the engine of the mission. It suddenly became this decentralized, grassroots, unstoppable movement. So, what's the big takeaway from this incredible story? Well, it reveals a timeless principle about how God often works, not just back then, but right now. And it has a direct application for you and me today.
Let's give it a name. We can call it the paradox of persecution. It's this mind-bending principle that adversity, the stuff that's intended to harm God's mission, is actually used by God as the catalyst to push it forward. It's like in God's plan, persecution isn't a bug in the system, it's a feature. It's a tool that He uses to achieve something even greater.
You can see it like a simple 3-step process. Let's call it the divine springboard. Step 1, a major setback happens. In this case, persecution scatters the church. Step 2, the believers respond. And this is the key. They don't just survive, they preach wherever they go. And step 3, the mission advances. The gospel spreads, perfectly fulfilling that original blueprint from Jesus. The setback becomes the springboard.
Here's the bottom line, the crucial point for us to grab onto. This story shows us that God is in the business of turning our setbacks into setups. He takes our circumstances, our displacements, our challenges, even the really painful stuff, and He uses them as opportunities. Opportunities to plant seeds of hope and truth in new ground, places we never would have gone on our own.
And so that brings us to a final, really personal question. Because look, we all face our own kinds of scattering, don't we? Maybe it's a job change, a move to a new city, a relationship that's ended, or just a really difficult personal trial. The question that the story from Acts forces us to ask ourselves is this: where is my scattering meant to plant a seed?